What up, people? What's good? Salute.
Yes, sir.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Salute to the tribe. We're hip hop and comics and hip hop. We're a niche channel. And reserved for the best is super dope. I do sell comics. Check me out on Instagram at 6th_element_comic. We do live auctions, live claim sales. I rock with Tooth and Claw, hit animated television series. The Scotty Young joint, blowing up fast. X-23. So this is dope, man. All right, so this is beautiful. All right, welcome everybody. This is the 6th element of hip hop. I am Reno Noir, your host. This is my co-host Stu Dog, and we have a very, very special guest today, Mr. Malcolm Wong, creator of Dog Eaters, a phenomenal new indie comic from your boys over there with ASAP and Anyone World and them. We've been talking to a few of their authors recently, man, and now we have the pleasure of speaking to, in my opinion, man, this is one of the best comics out of the camp, man, and
thank you.
I dig it. Like, I really dig it a lot, man. How you doing today, sir?
Very well, thank you. It's early in the morning here. Well, it's 9 o'clock in Tokyo. And,
Yes.
Getting into winter weather.
Absolutely. We were talking about Tokyo a little bit before the show, and Japan, period, like being one of the main places that I want to visit, and how it's what were you saying? How it's like the leader of civilization.
The height of civilization, with the emphasis on civil, because people don't impose on each other like
No, they don't.
You know,
like America.
Yeah, it's like I want you to do what I do. No,
right.
You do what you do. Be free. I mean,
I love that.
Isn't that what it should be? It's like you do what you do, but don't
Don't
put
impose
yourself on other people.
Don't impose on what I do.
Americans are very much, if you're not doing it our way, you're wrong, or you got to kind of do it my way or you're wrong kind of thing.
My way or the highway.
Me and Reno just had this discussion.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because I wasn't trying to impose. But Reno was like, well, I can't do, and I don't understand how you do. I said, well, look, Reno, that's how I get down.
Yeah, man. We were talking about cell phones, and then you mentioned, Malcolm, something about cell phones. We were talking about Japan being. We always think of it as like the sort of leaders of technology, but I guess that's really was a thing in the 80s. It's really not the deal anymore. Now it's
the Sony Walkman was definitely revolutionary. Taking music with you as an individual and just having your own soundtrack to your life is, that concept was brand new, really. Right. But what I was telling Reno was that, when the iPhone came out, I go back and forth. Hawaii is where, when I go, that's our U.S. address. We go back and forth. But, you see people like this all the time. And then in the Japanese have the flip phone, and it took until like iPhone 3 before it started to catch on. And now it's like, crazy, because before, when in Tokyo, it's so difficult to get around. The streets are not like 1 to 5, A to Z, whatever, like New York, whatever. It's not a grid system. It's and the addresses is like you can have like 1-3 over here and 6-5 over here, and it's not sequential at all. So they used to have maps, and these maps were very abstract and geometric. So it wasn't like an accurate map. It's very abstract, and you go, you have to do this. Now everybody has an iPhone. All that kind of stuff is gone. All the print material in trains, people be reading manga, these thick manga, Jump and this kind of thing, newspapers. Everybody like this on the train reading. Now it's all iPhone. It's all smartphone. Yeah.
And you mentioned manga. So Yeah, so in Japan, they're not really reading physical manga as much anymore.
It's all digital now. Yeah, you don't
Wow.
see any of those fat books anymore, which was
Wow.
nuts. Those are so
They're
cool.
still
It's
big over
sad.
here. They're
It's
still
it's
big over here.
sad. Yeah,
My
it's
son's got
sad.
a shelf full of them.
Yeah. Well, see, in America, we collect them. We normally collect them, but if we can get them digitally, we'll read them. But we like to have a physical copy, just in case the apocalypse happens or a giant EMP surge goes down, and we need. I have my manga. You won't have yours, but I have
Yeah,
my manga. I have my
Well,
yeah,
manga.
dog eaters.
exactly.
The whole premise is mankind failed to transcend the petroleum age.
Right, right.
175 years after the die-off, humanity consists of scattered nomadic tribes, isolated casino cities, and hordes of predatory bandits. This is the world of the Black
Yeah,
Dog Clan. And
But we
that's the
love it.
premise. So it's, most apocalyptic stories or post-apocalyptic stories, it's kind of like, here comes the iceberg, it's global, whatever, and then it's like, I'm running, this iceberg is chasing me, whatever.
yeah.
But this is 175 years after that, when civilization is starting to coalesce around these casino cities in the American Southwest. And so the Black Dog Clan is making its way down the trade route to the Gulf, where they're going to set up their own city, their own, they're going to get off the nomadic trail. This is what's, happening. It's the change. In the American West, the Buffalo and all this kind of stuff, those eras, Wild Bill Hickok and stuff, is very short, actually. Change happened really fast. And so this is kind of what's happening here as well. It's kind of like history is not a circle, but a spiral, so that it does not repeat, but it rhymes. And things happen again and again, but in a slightly different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like a remake,
Right. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
It's definitely good material, man. It was the comic reminded me. The pace of it was like the chase scenes from Mad Max. The pace of the comic and it wasn't. I can't, because a lot of people try to compare it, but I can't compare it to Mad Max. Because it's good stuff, man. It's really good. It's just the pace of the comic I like. It's like watching a Mad Max film. When they're chasing each other in the trucks and they're constantly going. My question is, the rig that they're in, the dog eaters is that a giant? Do they live on that giant rig, or is it like they're like mobile headquarters? Yeah, it's like
It's like a huge RV with that's got guns on it, and but when they stop, this is like they do go to a city, and what it is it didn't make it into the comic because this was actually adapted from a screenplay that won 3 awards at Screenwriting Expo in LA, and so that's how it became a comic and a graphic novel. And the Dable brothers, I'm not sure if you remember them. They're from the early 2000s. They were a very influential indie publisher back before social media. It was all comic forums. And they had adapted a George R. Martin prequel to Game of Thrones called The Hedge Knight. It hit big, and they got a lot of authors, fantasy authors, and really good artists. And so, because of the adaptation, this part was not in it, but there's kind of like a bizarre, basically, in the medieval times too as well. You have these temporary, marketplaces, huge, and so you would set up. And then you'd have tents around your vehicles and everything like that. So it's kind of like, also like the Mongols of the Genghis Khan. It's portable, but it's also
nomadic.
Very Yeah, it's nomadic. It's substantial, and then it moves.
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So you could live in it, but you want to spread out too, right? Relax, have a bonfire, barbecue.
Okay.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite genre right here. Like post-apocalyptic, dystopian futures. For some reason, I don't know what it is. It's always resonated with me. It's always been my favorite genre. Like hands down, whenever a movie comes out or a comic or anything from that era, I already know I'm gonna love it. But the artwork in this, I mean, this comic is
The
just
artwork is superb.
stunning. It's
Yeah,
my favorite. It's very
reminds me of Book of
anime.
Eli. Yeah.
Book of Eli with anime, maybe Fist of the North Star kind of thing.
Well, the artist is a Chilean artist, Guillermo Angel. We call him Guille, and he South American artist, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, all the whole continent really. They have a very interesting style. It's combination of manga and DC and Marvel. So you have both elements in there, which makes it unique and cool. It's it's fresh, very fresh.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at. I mean, it's just amazing artwork, amazing characters, and if you like manga, if you like anime, if you like comics, I mean, you can't go wrong here. It's action, drama, phenomenal writing. The storytelling is incredible. Did you have were you going for a manga type, because it's in chapters versus how comics are in issues? I mean, is this like a manga? Is it inspired by manga?
Well, the initial proposal from the Dable brothers was that it would be 6 issues, then combined into a graphic novel. About 28 pages each, or I think 20. One was 32 or whatever. Turns out that this is full color, 200 pages with some extras in it. There's a forward and an afterword, and that explains how I even started writing this, and also to the journey that this thing has been on, because I won that award in like 2007 or something.
Oh wow.
Didn't start into production until a year or so later, and then the whole process. I mean, the first 2 issues came out through Dable Brothers, first 2 or maybe even 3, and they. Well, I mean, it's really old history, so I'll just say, when Guille started drawing, he drew 10 pages of roughs. And I had heard scuttlebutt on the forums that Dable Brothers are not paying their creators and their contributors. They said, invoice right now.
Wow.
And they never paid. And so I said to Les, I'll take on the production costs, and I'll retain full intellectual property rights.
Yeah.
So I still retain those rights, even though it's gone from Dable Brothers to Sea Lion Books to Arctic Press, which is creator owned also. They publish that. And Media 1111, and I did it myself. So this is like, the 5th iteration. And I think now is the time that people are starting to realize that, hey, the petroleum age, we're seeing the effects of that, the negative effects of relying so much on petroleum. It's it's global warming, it's fracking, it's pollution, it's plastic, it's it's all that stuff. And so maybe it's I was ahead of its time a bit. So, but anyways, they never paid, so I picked it up, and Dable Brothers went from they had an agreement. They went to Marvel, they went to Del Rey, they went all over the place, and then they're no longer around, right?
Right.
So the whole origin of this is that, I was just totally getting fed up with what was going on in the United States with, this obsession with celebrity. At that time, it was, Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton. Now it's the Kardashians. It's even worse because you have so many, and it's all based on this, I don't know, cosmetic surgery and sex tapes.
Yeah.
And so also too, the politicians doing nothing. I mean, it's worse now than it was then. Just continuing along that path. So that's basically where I started. So it said, if this version of Western civilization, which America spearheads, they're the leaders of Western civilization, obviously. The world is Western civilization. No matter if you're in Africa or in Asia or Europe, it's Western civilization. We wear Western clothes. English is a language of business. And so, what happens if it collapses like Rome? And so that was the impetus. After the die-off, that the impetus was that, and then just creating a story from that. And this is, of course, before Fury Road. The latest Mad Max. Yeah, it's before. I wrote it before, Fury Road. That's going.
Well, now we see where they got their idea from.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite, but I mean, parallel thinking, parallel ideas. People thinking along the same. Reno's always liking the dystopian, and gravitating towards that, and so what happens? What happens when it happens? I mean, I know
that's always the question, because right now we are at a pivotal point where we can tip the seesaw to the catastrophic events that will ultimately take us out. And it seems like when you start talking about it in America, my thing is, in America we have too many. There's too many baby boomers still in charge. I know a lot of people don't like to hear it, but it's time for a younger generation to get in there and say, well, look, we want to be around for our grandkids like you're around for yours, and we don't want to be around and have to deal with global warming. A lot of animals are going extinct now because of deforestation, things of that nature. It's just time for a change.
I like dystopian future stories, but I don't want to really live in one.
No, I don't either. No, it's a good genre to read and write about and even watch on TV. But we are at a pivotal point where somebody has to take a stand and say this is what we need to do. And your book actually, it's almost real. Like, it's almost like that could be a real future. Yeah, we're nomadic like that.
Yeah, it's American South, set in the American Southwest, and the survivors, the initial, after the initial die-off, are the roaches, who are the hordes of loosely affiliated. They're interbred, maximum security prisoners, and this kind of thing. And the Black Dog Clan are native American based people.
Okay. Yeah, you can tell. Now, how many different groups are there?
Well, there's many separate groups of roaches, just generally called roaches, generically that group. And then as far as the other tribes,
they survived the apocalypse or whatever, and they're still running around. That's why they're roaches, right?
Yeah. Yeah, roaches will survive nuclear.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Yeah. So. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah. So the dogs dogs are they the same as the roaches? Is there just one group of dogs, or are there
Well, you can see that Tracy has a pet called Mr. Fluffy.
Right.
And he's really
right
cute.
He's holding it. There he is.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's her right there, and then
But
yeah.
the bovine
She's
encephalitis, which is mad cow disease, has taken the hoofed animals. Has killed all the hoofed animals. So basically, the diet has changed, and the dogs have also changed. They're more like the wild dogs are more like dingoes,
Mm-hmm.
which is combination of wolf, coyote, dog, and then interbreeding with that. So they're like the Australian dingo, which is a different kind.
So without the hoofed animals, what are they eating? Are they eating dogs? What are they doing?
Yeah, there's well, I mean that's kind of what it is that they're eating dogs,
Mm.
but other things
Dog
too.
eaters.
Yeah, that's what it's come down to.
Yeah. Now,
I
did
mean,
you?
if you can put cheese on it, pretty much. I mean, pretty much if that's all I have,
Yeah, right.
I'm
Make a
you
dog burger,
know,
dog cheeseburger.
yeah. Now I'm glad because it reminds me of you ever see Demolition Man when they were in
Yeah,
the sewers, and he was like, "Oh, that smells good," and the lady gave him a burger, and the girl was like, "You don't see any cows around here, do you?" He was like,
Yeah,
"No, so
right.
what?" She was
rat
like, "What
burgers.
kind of meat is that?" Yeah, he's like, "Rat." He was like, "Oh," he was like, "It's good."
Yeah. Yeah, hey, if you're
Well,
hungry enough, anything.
when times get tough, like in medieval times,
Right.
and you're under siege, with no food, that's
Yeah,
what you eat.
rats. Yeah.
That's what you eat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're always around humans. That's one
Yeah.
thing that they'll always if we're around, they'll be around.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when did you first get into comic books? Was this something like you said it was a screenplay at first? Were you always a comic fan? Did you decide to do this as a
Well,
comic?
when I was a kid, I was reading like Phantom and kind of more obscure things. Captain America. Well, Captain America was back then,
Yeah.
but I wasn't a super collector or a fan like that. I
Right.
read comic books, of course, but so coming from the screenplay and an adaptation of that is basically where the origin of this comes from, rather than and then because I started going to San Diego Comic Con like several years in a row. Then I started getting more into the contemporary, Silver Age and this kind of stuff.
Right.
What is going on with comics now? Which, I mean, it blew up like crazy. And
Oh God.
basically, I mean, the period of time where this came about and was published is kind of like very interesting because it's just at subprime, which at subprime there's a lot of fake money. I mean, even now the money is fake anyways, but I mean it's really fake back then, and a lot of investment in media and entertainment from international to American. So a lot of movies, money is German and European money. It's coming in. Some of my friends, getting movies made that were like, how did this get made? It's just like people just throwing money around, and it's same with comics as well. It's kind of like it kind of blows up, and then now it's shrinking, but now it's then it's gone digital, and it's all this kind of change that's happening, and keeping up with that is it's really very interesting what's happening now.
Yeah.
Things are changing so fast.
Did
It's
you
true. It's true.
are you a big manga fan at all, or anime rather?
Well, I kind of keep in touch with a few of my sons. They're really into it, and
Yeah, me too.
and so
Big.
that's I'm kind of beyond the age of that.
Yeah, it was
Really.
like when I was a
No.
kid, we watched
No.
anime movies, but they
Right.
didn't. We weren't really into the shows yet. And then I got a little older. Dragon Ball Z kind of came and
Right.
took it by storm, which I never was a fan at first. I only recently, even watched Dragon Ball Z and saw what it was about because of my son. He got me into My Hero Academia and Tokyo Ghoul and all these great anime, but they're all based on these manga books. And
Right.
yeah, and manga is it's comics, but it's black and white. Obviously, you got to learn how to read them because they're left to right, bottom. It's completely the opposite. But the writing, because a lot of the mangas come from novels, right? First they
Right.
started as actual novels, then they go
Right.
to manga, then they go to anime, and then sometimes we get a live action thing. Yeah, like Tokyo or like what dang, what
My
is it?
Hero Academia,
Cowboy. Nah, what's
Cowboy Bebop,
the
Cowboy
Cowboy
Bebop.
Cowboy
Bebop.
Bebop? Yeah, on Netflix.
Yeah.
Most people didn't like it. Apparently, I loved it. I thought it was great, but I like the
Wait,
anime too.
because when you watch Cowboy Bebop, the anime, it's got that the music is like all jazz, so it's got this jazz feel to it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the characters are very well put together.
yeah,
And there's no, even the dialogue has action. So listening to the characters interact with each other is in itself discrete action.
yeah, yeah.
And then at the end of it is either going to be, because Cowboy Bebop had a formula where it was action, that was the intro, and then you had
Mhm.
the story, and they would interact with each other and they would talk, and then you had the ending, which was all action, and they got to the point.
Yeah.
The TV show, the Netflix series just didn't. If it would have followed that formula, it'd have been great, but it was just too much character interaction and not enough of what Cowboy Bebop was. So like,
Mm,
I think that's what turned a lot of people off.
maybe.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you're familiar with the source material, you have
right,
expectations. It's
Yeah.
kind of like
right.
Dune. Dune,
Yeah.
the David Lynch, and then there was a series, a British, a UK series, and then the recent one, the
Yeah. Which again, if you're looking for the source material, it's not going to be the same. But
yeah, yeah.
on its own, again, that's another one I liked. I like Dune. I like the new Dune. The old
The
Dune
new
was
one I
great,
like, yeah.
but I
The
like
old one was great. They were
the new one was
long,
even better.
long. Yeah, they're very long. But as far as
But
anime, I've been down with anime for a long time. Robotech, I know
Mhm.
Reno's just got into, but I've been down since Robotech
mhm.
and back before
Well, see,
that.
I was into it, but I
Baki.
was in the movies, right? Like Ninja Scroll and,
Uh,
and Fist of the North Star, and Dagger of Kamoy, and all these. I didn't even. I didn't even saw a show. I didn't know they serialized them at that point.
oh yeah,
But
God, yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah.
big into it.
I was in the
But
Getter
they've been doing it
Robo.
forever since the
Yeah,
70s
yeah,
and shit
Getter
or
Robo.
something.
Yeah, Getter Robo, Giant Robo,
Yeah,
Big O. I've been watching all of that for years, bro. I mean,
yeah,
especially Robotech. Robotech was kind of like watching a soap opera, but it was an anime. It was like a soap opera anime, but it was good. I mean, yeah, three times three eyes. It was just
mhm,
good, man. It was just
yeah,
good, and I was blown away by it because as a kid, I had never seen Japanese anime, and one of my friends introduced me to it, and I was hooked. I've been
yeah,
hooked since like the ninth grade, I think, man. Like
mhm,
eighth grade. I've been hooked since the eighth grade, man.
Well,
But it was just hard to get.
the interesting thing about Asian-based, Asian origin stories, the the storytelling is different.
Yes.
It's like right now with America, especially with the influence of the hero's journey, that which Star Trek, the first Star Trek really, I mean, that was classic hero, Joseph Campbell hero's journey
right, right,
storytelling,
yeah,
and basically, oh, this is the formula for making hit movies, is what happened, and it's like the
mhm,
beats are all the same. Oh, here's where he almost dies, comes back. Here's
right,
where he rejects the call. Here's where he
yep,
brings back the golden fleece. It's like
right,
this formula. This
yeah,
formula is so tired now.
yeah.
They've been overusing it since the mid-70s.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you can Google the hero's journey and how to write a novel books and stuff. I mean, that's the classic. This is how you write a story. This
Exactly.
is how a story. But with Asian, so all right, so how is Asian storytelling different? And then is there differences between like your ancestry is from China?
Yeah, I'm third generation Chinese American. Father was born in Boston. Mother was born in Victoria, BC, Canada. She's
Right.
Canadian. He was Canadian. So
And you're from Baltimore.
Baltimore, Boston, Hilo, Honolulu, Osaka, Tokyo, Wailuku, Maui. You know, we're Maui. We're Maui and Tokyo now.
So,
But
okay,
so
we love
question, I guess,
Honolulu.
is two-parter. Is like is it how is Asian storytelling different, and then how is Chinese different from Japanese, for example?
What's really fascinating
drastically.
is you see. Well, I mean, from Bruce Lee to Japanese movies and also Korean, which is so good now. It's so good, and I think a lot of it has to do with not the structure necessarily. They do have structure, they have their own kind of structure, but it's not. There's unexpected things that happen that with American movies and storytelling is you can almost predict what's going to happen next.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so more than that, though, I think it's the values. Okay. I mean, if you look at something like Schitt's Creek or something like that, or you get this, it's very, to me, it's very, kind of like they're pushing these values, not pushing necessarily, but showing things that people imitate.
Right.
I just said Schitt's Creek because that's something my wife is watching now. But I mean, when you what I've been really watching a lot of is K-drama and that kind of stuff recently. Of course, Squid Games and but other things too.
Right.
Some of these romance
horror
stuff.
Right.
Yeah, horror, whatever.
The horror is crazy.
And the interpersonal relationships between parents, child, brothers, sisters, lovers, very different portrayals than in the States.
In what way?
Because now, a lot of times they change a lot of things to bring it to America. When you compare like a Japanese version or a Chinese version to an American version, is
you're talking about a remake, or you're talking about
more like if you have like well, I know the dialogue's different because of the language. The languages. I know the dialogue's different. And that's just dialects and dialect. But as far as like Americans, like a lot more faster pace stories and story driven dramas, whereas in the Japanese, they like drama. They love a verbal pap. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. They love the verbal back and forth and things like that. Being writing a comic and doing that yourself, did you find that difficult to try to either find a balance or you just said, look, I'm gonna just go all out to what I want to do?
Yeah, I was just I've been writing for quite a while actually. I started with short stories and novels, and I wrote 3 novels. I was represented in New York and UK, never got published, but it's probably a good thing too, because they were real. Those, again, when I'm talking about mediating, artists mediate energies, things that come from their own life, but also things that are around them. You're taking in information, because nothing comes from a vacuum. You're taking in information, your feelings, and then you're expressing this thing into a thing. And it was just a little bit over the top, it was, too much sex and violence.
Okay. All right.
You got to pull that back, get a little bit more mature, But so when I started writing this, it's basically my feelings about the current state of America and the direction where it's going, and then seeing where that's going to, anticipating that it's not sustainable. It can't last.
Right.
This is not sustainable, what we're doing.
Not at all.
No.
So when that happens, then, okay, now I'm going to say, how is this going to play out after this happens? because it's unsustainable. And I don't see how we can fix it. Seriously,
That's the question. And do you think do you think like that the baby boomers and the the great World War II generation, the people that are kind of like the ones with all the money and control, do you see them changing for us or our kids or doing something? Because it's like they just care about their money. Like if
okay,
it's gonna
so
make them more money, they're gonna do it.
let's look at it this way. Just look at our current leaders.
Yeah.
We got Trump and Biden within the last 10 years, right?
Right.
Look at Trump's kids. Look at Trump's
Obama and Trump will be the last 10 years. Because Biden's only been there 1
Trump
year.
and Biden. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at those. So Obama comes in. Comes in with very idealistic. I voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
So did I.
But what happened? What happened is he was co-opted by the corporations, by the military-industrial complex. Violence increased in the Middle East. Actually, the immigration problem was actually continued. He continued what was happening. So what we have, I mean, he has daughters. They're young, but let's look at the next set. Trump and his kids,
right?
Ivanka, Jared, and Junior. Now look at Biden, Hunter. These guys are supposed to be. Are they Gen X? They probably are, right?
They probably are. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're Gen X.
Yeah. So Gen X is the next generation.
They're boomers. They might be boomers. I don't know.
No, they're not boomers.
Because my parents are boomers, but I'm Gen X.
Yeah, your parents are boomers.
I'm 42.
Yeah, that's Gen X. That's like
I'm just barely Gen X. 79 was the year it starts or ends rather, and that's the year I'm born. So I made it by 1 year.
Yeah, John Cusack with the the boombox, right?
Right.
And Ethan Hawke, right? Those are Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, is he Gen X?
Yeah.
So
I think he is. No, he was born in
later.
He was born in the 60s. He's a 60s
Outsiders. The Outsiders movie, like everyone from that movie. Yeah.
Brad Pitt, is he Gen X?
Yeah.
60s baby, I think. He's 60s baby.
He's Gen X. Yeah.
So what does that mean? Basically, Jared, Hunter, they are like their fathers, but even worse.
Yeah. That's
right.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, we need young people, but young people are their parents, but worse is what it looks like to me.
Like Gen Z is the generation I have the most hope for. And then that's my son. But like the millennials, that next generation, my sister, it's like forget about it.
They're done.
Lost cause. Yeah. Like, but the Gen Z, they actually playfully call them Zoomers because they're similar to Boomers, but they're also they're Gen Z, meaning they're kind of like Gen X. They went with the letter theme, they're like the next letter.
But Zoomers, think about that, is they are being brought up, they're being educated on Zoom.
Yep.
They're isolated from actual interpersonal. You can't touch them, basically.
Yes. And they're okay with that. Yeah.
They're fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fine with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how good is it for their health? We don't know.
It's like people that grow up with an iPhone in their hand, with an iPad, with computer games, growing up with a computer, with computer games. Like, computers and internet, kind of started for most people, the most people is like the 90s, early 90s, maybe late 80s. The first Mac, I think was mid to late 80s, maybe even.
Yeah, Apple.
Before that, it was word processing.
Yeah.
It's like you can type on your stuff on a screen and edit it.
Right.
It's like, so we were expecting people like Greta but she's able to express her dismay, but what is the solution? So that's the thing. It's like, don't come at me with problems. I know the problems. Come at me with solutions, but what are they? You know, that's the thing.
And how does Dog Eaters come at that with a solution? What's the solution that it offers?
It's just pure survival at this point, and then you have to rebuild. And what happens with the nomadic situation is I wouldn't say they're more ecological than anybody else, but they don't have these things that don't break down. It's all organic, right? It's wood, it's leather, you know, it's bone, it's these kind of things that go back to the earth. What we're creating now does not go back to the earth very well. You know, the plastics, they last for hundreds of years at least, this pollution. And we just keep making it, you know. So what happens is with a nomadic situation is you have a spring camp or whatever.
Right.
And you move in the summer. And then when you come back in the next spring, it's all broken down. You know, it's like composting, basically. And so what you have is a natural lifestyle. But what they're going to do is they're going to start to build their own establishment back on the Gulf. You know, the power supply is this, broken down nuclear thing. So we don't know what's going to happen next. It could just be, again, you know, history rhyming with itself.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Do you see Dog Eaters coming to that sort of end where it's a beginning to a new world, or are they just going to fizzle out as a species?
Well, the sequel, which I started to write, the hero, the so-called hero, the main character, continues south to South America, where they have lithium deposits in Bolivia. That's what they do have. They actually have that, which is an essential ingredient material for batteries.
Right.
So, lithium batteries, everything is, cameras, all that stuff is run on that stuff. And it's a higher technology. And I haven't finished that. I sort of left off and started writing something else and completed it, actually. And that also is a screenplay award-winning script, and it's called Sacred Profanity.
Okay.
And it's in a dystopian near future. A journalist investigating the assassination of his spiritual teacher must elude the death squads of both the UN peacekeepers and the divine faith to find and reveal the truth and witness the resurrection. So this is more of like set in 2055. So we're still 30-something years from this story here. It's set in, starts in New York, which is now called New Dubai, because New York has sold the naming rights to Dubai.
Wow.
You know that New York started off as New Amsterdam, right? Before New York.
Yeah.
So you can sell these naming rights, or
that's weird.
Not sell. Back then they did sell. Actually, the Dutch sold it. They sold it to them. It was were pretty cheap, but not as cheap as wampum. What the the Native Americans sold it for. But so that's the story I moved on to. I had experienced a lot of roadblocks with Dog Eaters since then. It's like there's no real call to do a sequel at that point. But right now it seems to be picking up some momentum, and I've reached out to Abhishek Moore at Digicore, who did the core of the did the animatic for the core of the promotion, the video promotion. Then did you see that? You know,
no.
Oh, you haven't seen that?
No, I didn't.
No.
Let me see if I can get you a link.
Oh, that'd be great. Do you see an anime coming for Dog Ears?
Well, that's the thing, is that at that time, Digicore was doing, did the first 2 issues, the color for first 2 issues. They're based in Pune, India. And let me find a link for that thing. Where is it?
Yeah,
because I think
it would make a
it'd make a great anime.
Man, would it?
Yeah, because I think that with the loss of Saturday morning cartoons, a lot of these indie books and indie stories and people that are coming out with just something different,
so
we should make them.
Yeah, so Digicore was doing comics, color. You know, it was kind of small back then. I mean, we're talking 15 years ago, right? But now they're doing VFX, video effects for, you know, Amazon and Netflix and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, hey, pitch me a web series. And so this was like yesterday. So like this could happen, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. ASAP sent me the link.
You have the link?
Instagram. He said he sent it on Instagram. I'll pull that up real quick. Yep,
indie. Now, comic wise, what are you reading right now?
Yeah.
Are you reading anything right now, comic wise?
Right now I am not reading comics. What I'm reading is a series on World War One called it's called The War to End All Wars. It's a 5.
It is a comic.
It's not a comic.
No, it's a novel.
It's a novel.
It's fiction. It's actually I'm really impressed by this because it's so unwoke. I mean, it's a perfect. It feels like a very accurate, authentic snapshot of. You know, this is set. It's basically 3 or 4 midshipmen that have gone in their own ways in World War One. You know, one is a captain and becomes a captain on a destroyer. Another one goes into the army, and the 2 others are killed. But the thing is that the racial, the sexual is like it's not trying to be woke, which is a lot of fiction now. Like they're trying to inject this woke stuff. Yeah. This cultural, political stuff,
yeah,
which is not real back then. I mean, it wasn't real 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Right. And now they're trying to be like
it was that way back then. Just
yeah. That's what's crazy. And it's like the series I read before, which was set in just before the War of the Roses in England. You know, this stuff, the attitudes of you know, the Tudor English kings, you know, their cousins killing each other, right? To be king. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's pretty savage. And so, yeah, I guess we have gotten a little bit better as a species, you know, in terms of this kind of thing, you know, killing people and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty funny. He tried to it was pretty good. I mean, he's very accurate in terms of the techniques of fighting because he's a reenactor, this particular guy, Cameron something or other. And, you know, with his, you know, the swords and how you fight with swords, it's like, you know, you don't just swing away. You hold it like this and jab it right through the visor, things like that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, how you parry and things like this. There's a guy that wrote about the martial arts of the Middle Ages with illustrations, you know, how you, you know, you do your sword fighting and how you parry and how you counter and all, you rolling, you know, you're rolling and do that kind of stuff, which is very accurate. But then he puts in this woke stuff and it's like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like
they're ruining so many mediums with that stuff. It's just ruining so many franchises and titles. I mean, look what they did to Star Wars, for Christ's sakes. Like, we don't have and we talk about it all the time on the show. who doesn't agree with that stuff? I mean, of course, I mean, unless you're just a total jerk or a racist scumbag, of course you're agreeing with that stuff, but we don't have to make it the story. Like, let the story be. We're not against any of that. We're just against bad writing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's what.
And it gets inauthentic, which is another thing. It's like,
right.
Why are you interjecting this stuff into it? It's trendy, I guess, but it reads as inauthentic, you know?
Yes, it does. It reads very fake. It's very forced.
Right.
Yeah,
Forced.
talk about it
You
all
know,
the time.
you know what it is. We've lost touch of heroes can inspire anybody. Doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
Doesn't matter what your affiliation is. Doesn't matter if you're gay, you're straight, you're male, female. It doesn't matter what you affiliate with. A
Black,
hero,
white, Asian.
right? A hero is supposed to inspire all people. So,
So we don't have to make the hero also gay or also black
right,
or also white or also a woman,
right.
right?
Well, whoever the
let 'em
hero
be
is,
people.
if it just happens to be a woman, it just happens to be a woman. If it's a man, it's a
Right.
man. If it's not, I don't care who it is, or it's just a hero inspires everybody. So, like, that's I think what we've gotten away from those basic elements, and we've just tried to write in something to try to make fair for everyone, to make everyone interested. Do you find that when you start writing?
Wait, I want to shout out Comics Lounge real quick. He said bad writing makes me feel like the writer thinks I'm an idiot, and that's
Right.
exactly right. Yeah.
And that was my next question. Question to you, Malcolm. Do you find it hard? Do you follow a more traditional style when you create, or do you just try to?
Like I was saying, it's like we're taking things from the world, everything, everything that we experience, process, perceive, and it's coming out with what we want to express. Basically, that's what art is, really. It's an expression of that, not just ourselves, but what we are taking in, processing. So and then what you have to find is some line, the beginning, a middle, and an end. I mean, that structure will never change. There will always be a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know.
If it's good.
So basically, we're talking about 3 acts in a way. But when they start getting into the mechanics of what goes into these things, it goes, no, well, actually, each act can actually be divided up into 5 pieces. And now we have 15 pieces that we have to fill in.
Right.
If you've ever read, this was a very influential book about, maybe it still is, about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe, called Save the Cat. Okay, and Save the Cat has to do with, like, your hero has to do something nice so that when he does something bad later, you still, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, so he saved Cat, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Redeemed it. Yeah, and yeah, man, and again, Comics Lounge, biggest reason why Into the Spider-Verse was the best was because the theme was anyone can be Spider-Man, but more importantly, anyone could be a hero. Exactly. And that kind of brings me to Spider-Man, the No Way Home, probably going to be the biggest comic movie of all time. Probably beat out any of the MCU movies so far. That's what it's looking like. And that says a lot. But yeah, they just did the premiere, and then we got all these guys on YouTube that have posted scenes from it, like straight up spoilers that I accidentally saw, and I was kind of upset about. So if anybody's on here, when are they going to talk about the big scene that was leaked? I'm not going to talk about it. We're not going to tell you about it. Rather, I'm not going to describe it. I'm not going to show it because it ruins it. And that's another problem that's another thing with today with stories and stuff. It's like they want to leak stuff and it kind of ruined it. They show like 7 trailers and they all, it breaks you see the whole movie.
Right. Yeah, sometimes the trailer is better than the movie and it's shorter.
Often.
Right, you have time to watch the trailer. I got time. I can do 2 minutes. I got that.
Yeah. And they take all the best stuff and then the rest of the movie's garbage.
So Malcolm, are you What's your opinion on the Marvel MCU?
I
Have you
really
watched
like
any
the
of it?
first. I really like the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
Then
Those were the
it
best.
just
And then
gets
Guardians was
it's too
okay.
much. It just gets. I don't know. I'm kind of over it. to tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah. No, honestly, I know what you mean. Like, I haven't even bothered to watch some of them, like the Eternals. Like, it's like I didn't really even watch the whole thing. Shang-Chi, I still want to watch, but I haven't gotten to that.
Shang-Chi was great. Shang-Chi was
Hawkeye,
great.
I haven't gotten to see Hawkeye yet. I didn't finish.
Hawkeye's good. Is based on the comic that came out a few years back.
Yeah,
Literally,
Mhm.
I mean, it literally
but
follows the source material very, very, very
Yeah,
closely.
the point being
that's
that
one of the
it
comics I read actually,
right,
and the other one, the other Archer guy on,
Green Arrow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and also
yeah,
Aquaman. Those
right,
Aquaman.
those classic ones way back when I read
right,
those. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and
and
they
then as it gets more and more involved, I mean, look at all the franchises, the so-called franchise. I mean, franchise. That whole idea is just about
It
you
was.
know, it's making money. Really, it's
yeah,
just trying to print money basically. And
merchandise and yeah,
yeah.
merch. Yeah, it's all about.
Right,
Oh,
because we
I have some dog eaters merch.
right,
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
right.
We want that.
Because
We
we
want
we talk about we talk about Young Justice on here a lot here and there, and we talk about how when it literally got really really good, they canceled it because of a toy line. Cartoon Network had a deal where there was a toy line that went out with the cartoon. The toy line didn't do so well. They canceled the toy line, so the cartoon went with it. And we were, we to this day we're like, who makes that type of deal? Like, who does that? Like, if the toys aren't selling, they aren't selling. And nobody liked the toys; they just weren't that great. But the cartoon was excellent.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's sad because yeah, it's like I guess they didn't care as much about the show. It was all just there to sell toys. Like in the '80s, every show. I mean, GI Joe, Transformers, He Man, Vulture. They were all toy commercials. That's
Yeah.
what the shows were.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
To
my big
they
question
literally.
to you is: do you see a toy line for dog eaters?
Um, maybe if
I
it's
would love
something
some
like, I
figures,
mean,
some
figures.
yeah.
Have you guys been to San Diego Comic Con or New York
Mm,
Comic Con?
I've been to one here in Virginia, but not the big ones, not the New York or the San Diego yet.
Unfortunately, we have not been blessed with those
Sadly, we have
privileges yet.
not made it. Yeah.
But we're working on it.
There's
We are
some
working on it.
amazing art, sculptural. I mean, call them
Oh,
sculptures, not toys.
statues and stuff. Yeah. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah,
Oh,
I've seen. Oh yeah, I've seen some stuff on YouTube. Yeah, virtually
Stunning.
I've been, but not physically. Yeah, I've seen some
Yeah.
stuff that blew me away.
I mean, the McFarlane stuff. Is that Todd McFarlane?
Todd
Tom
McFarlane
McFarlane,
does
yes.
some good figures.
The figures, and I mean, that's just the biggest name. I mean, there's some amazing, amazing
Yeah.
detailed, figure work. I mean, the
Yeah.
Batman,
Sideshow
Superman, some
collectibles.
DC stuff. They're like
Mhm.
this big.
Sideshow, the big
Yeah,
statue. Oh
sideshow.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're $1,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're grand and stuff for the statues.
I
Those are
mean,
like
that
stunning.
level. Yes, I would love to do something like that, but not quote unquote.
Like an action figure line or
Well, it
something.
depends. I
If
mean,
it's like Marvel Legends or GI Joe Classified or
yeah.
Star Wars Black Series, really
But to
nice.
get to that level, to be able to command that kind of, you need that kind of stuff. You have to be huge. You have
You
to be
gotta
a
be
movie. You have to
yeah.
be a franchise, really.
Right.
Spawn, whatever. I know we work actually we work with Hasbro as a company. We have a family business called Crossroad Connections, and we license Hasbro property, which actually was originally a Kenner. I don't know if you remember Kenner way back when.
Mm-hmm.
A Kenner, it's a doll called Blythe. But so we've been working with Hasbro for 20 years, and you see what they try to do. I mean, they do the Star Wars, they do Disney, Disney does Disney, but they do a lot of stuff. And what you see is, how they corporatize stories. They corporatize intellectual properties, which is licensing and all that kind of stuff. And it's you notice that everything has pointing towards one source. Like Disney. Disney owns Marvel. Disney owns Star Wars. And so what you have now is one entity that is determining what we are seeing, what we are taking in as media, and also the kind of trends, cultural trends, they can really dictate to you and propagandize and brainwash us into the kind of thinking that they want us to think.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why indie things are so important. It's because you don't get, you're coming at it from your own point of view, an individual's point of view, not something that is done by a committee.
Right.
Well, we agree. We like the indie stuff. Same thing with music. We'd rather have everybody. You got to have a point where you got to let free will be free will. Sometimes you ask yourself, right, and art be art. Like sometimes you guys, can this get any better? It can if you let it grow. A tree will only get as big as you let it grow. Or same thing with a fish in a tank. The bigger the tank, the bigger the fish.
Yeah.
So if we put it in a small enclosure and we close it off, we're not going to get much out of it. And that's why we like the indie stuff, and that's why we love your book, and we think it's great.
Thank you.
Hopefully we get that toy line that
that'd be crazy.
That anime.
So Dog Eaters, it's done, right? It's a finished story. It's not an ongoing.
It's a finished story, but the last page it says the end, but to be continued, and that it can be continued.
Do you plan to do an ongoing comic, or would you rather just do another graphic novel miniseries, whatever?
I would love to do something with sacred profanity. So if we can get some kind of a buzz and some kind of some kind of a floor that that we can stand onto to move on, on that, get some kind of production going. But if Dog Eaters start to take off and then there's a call for it, I have beats for the continuation. I just have to fill them in.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I would love to see it, man, because this was a phenomenal book. I definitely, we got to give it a super dope. We have a rating system when we do reviews. We have, it's what is this? Whack, dope, hella dope, and super dope.
Super dope.
And super dope is rarely given out, but we're definitely giving this a super dope. It is definitely it's like 5 mics in the stores. It's rarely
it is. It's rarely given, but when we give it, it's deserving of it.
100%.
Thank you.
We like your work, and we want you to crank out that part 2, man. Come on, we know you got it.
I was. The thing is,
if you want, Malcolm, I could order another lockdown pandemic, and that'll give you time to write it. Just let me know. You gotta let me know. Just call. Just let me know. Yeah, let me know.
The writing is not. That's not the part that is expensive. That's free. I mean, it's my time.
Right.
It's the art.
The art. Okay.
That's like. I never added up what it cost me to produce Dog Eaters. It's just too scary, man.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I understand that.
We understand. We definitely understand that.
But definitely, everybody check this out. It is crazy. Dog Eaters, phenomenal book by our friends over at ASAP Anyone World. And we'll have some more writers from that camp next Wednesday coming on the show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you'll catch us here again Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, Monday for hip-hop and comics. So Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can always find us here on the Sixth Element of Hip Hop. I am Reno Noir. My co-host Stu Dog's got to go fight crime right now. He's got to get to work. Malcolm, man, it was a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you.
It
And
was. It
thank you
really
for
was,
sitting
bro.
down with us. Yeah,
And
phenomenal.
can we get you back, man? Listen, come back. Talk to us, man.
Yes.
Come back, hang out.
Yeah.
Good discussion, man.
100%.
Will do.
All right.
And yeah, shout out and Multiverse Conscious ASAP. Keep them coming, man. And yeah, keep them coming. We love the content so far, guys. But we will see everybody, man, next time, man. Peace.
All right. Peace.